All right, hello and welcome to another episode of the SJSU Online Spotlight Series, where you'll learn about our valuable, affordable, and flexible opportunities to complete your bachelor's degree 100% online. Today, we're joined by SJSU faculty Dr. Patrick Valho, who's going to discuss the benefits of our new online psychology program. So, Patrick, really looking forward to talking about this new program today and getting to learn a little bit about you. Before we get into today's topic, can you actually introduce yourself to our viewers and talk about a few of the moments that have kind of shaped who you are and led you into your current role at SJSU as a faculty member there?
Yeah, happy to, and thanks for having me, Brian. So San Jose State's special to me. I did my master's in experimental psychology here, back in 2008 to 2010, I think. And I really think about it as the place that helped me grow the most. When I came here, I was kind of like mid-20s, and moved from quite far away from the Midwest. So really affected my life being in this environment with the people that work here and the other students and such. So also SJSU or San Jose State being in the Bay Area, that was a big influence on me as well. I did my PhD in Northeastern Ohio at Kent State in educational psychology and knew I wanted to come back as soon as possible. And luckily they hired me back in 2016, and I've been teaching here ever since. Also have done, I did like 4 years of psychology major minor advising, and I've worked in some other roles that I think are going to be really helpful to, help students in this SJSU online psychology major do their best. So yeah, that's a little bit about my background.
Awesome. Yeah, it's really cool to hear about your journey and just how you have this personal connection with San Jose State going through the experience as a student. And then, like you said, then leaving for a period of time to kind of have that comparative experience and getting your doctorate and then returning and bringing that like new knowledge and experience with you. So I think that's really cool that you understand what it's like to be, a student through SJSU, and now you're able to, give back and continue, like you said, teaching and mentoring and advising now as a faculty member, and really continuing to expand access to SJSU through this new online program. So that's really awesome. I know that the psychology program specifically, it's designed to introduce students to psychology and thinking about it both as a science, but also understanding the human experience. Can you talk a little bit more about the kind of the overview of the program for our prospective students and why this program would be valuable for them?
Sure, yeah. And yeah, just to second your excitement, I'm really excited about this. Being from Ed Psych, I'm excited to kind of get this opportunity to help shape in this online curriculum we're going to have. But so our program is designed for people who have covered all the lower division requirements and will be coming in and basically doing the same track as our in-person, or we call them like stateside majors. So you'll cover like various subfields of psychology. You'll have a lot of choices though, like you can take social or personality, or either adult or child psychopathology and things like that. But we'll also cover, how do you conduct research? How do you write as a psychologist? How do you communicate your findings to others? And that doesn't have to be a research finding. That could be like, hey, I did this lit review and I learned a lot from it. Like, how can I share that with you if it might be helpful for you? And also, we have a specific class related to careers in psychology to get at career pathways, but a lot of kind of people who teach these classes about the different subfields will touch on those as well. So when I say those subfields, like some that come to mind, there's like clinical psychology, cognitive psychology, developmental, social. But, I think it's, as you said, better to translate those to like, what does that mean for the real world? So you can think of it, if you're interested in clinical psychology, you're interested in helping people improve their mental health. If you're interested in cognitive psychology, there's many things, but an example could be like understanding how attention and memory, like how those function, and that can help us with our like time management or with our study skills. Developmental psychology, a lot of people are interested in like being a parent. So what has psychology told us about, parenting styles? And like the other day, I'm teaching intro psych, and we're talking about all the things that we know might be harmful to a baby in the womb, right? So applying those types of knowledge. Social psych, it might be something like just understanding other people. Like, why is there a lot of disagreement in the world still? Why don't we all get along, right? So I always think of like, how much better would the world be if we were all, we had more of an understanding of psychology in these different areas, and then we'd all be kind of operating closer to like our peak, in terms of making the world a better place. So that's really the goal with psychology, is we understand the human mind to help us make the world a better place. It really, I think it's a very kind of service-oriented type field, no matter what subfield you are most interested in.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like how you boil it down to that. Just really trying to think about how to make the world a better place, and at like the individual level, the community level, the organizational level, looking at it through all these different lenses. And it was cool to hear just some more background about the program too, and how even though it's a 100% online program, it's essentially the same program as the in-person version that other students are enrolled in. And it allows for the flexibility to kind of go down these different pathways or subfields, depending on what a person's interested in, or what, where they're imagining this degree might take them once they graduate. And as someone who is a parent myself, definitely want to try to focus on, how I can be the best parent I can be as well. So just helpful, to hear that there's all these other kind of added benefits that come from the program as well. You started to dive into this a little bit, but can you talk a little bit more at length about what are a few of the skills or outcomes that students will develop as they go through the program, and maybe what sort of potential career paths that might lead them towards when they graduate?
Yeah, of course. And there's so many. I could talk about this for a while, so I tried to boil it down to some specific examples. One thing I'd mentioned was you're going to develop research skills. You're going to end up in certain classes doing things like creating like a psychometric type survey. So think of maybe a personality survey, satisfaction survey, if it's like human factors or something. Designing research studies, mainly experiments, but we'll talk about like what's a correlational study, what's a descriptive study, quantitative and qualitative analysis, using statistics to answer research questions. And again, that's if we're looking at numbers, we're doing like a quantitative type research or data collection, but there's other ways to analyze qualitative data. It doesn't involve statistics. And also the one I mentioned was, communicating like a psychologist. Will teach people specifically how to write, going by American Psychological Association style or APA style. So some outcomes related to that. So that's kind of your coursework, but some outcomes that are, running parallel to that could be working in one of the labs that our professors run. And even though I think a lot of that could be done from home, so I don't think the online program is necessarily a barrier to that. What else was I going to say? Oh, presenting your findings at a conference. We have a conference every spring. I remember the acronym. I don't remember what the acronym stands for. But the psychology department has a conference we put on every spring on campus. But besides that, there's Western Psychological Association, a regional conference every year. There's national conferences. There's international conferences. Some of those have some experience with being online as well with COVID. So some even now have kept an online portion. So, but I'm also thinking some people, just because they're taking an online program, are happy to kind of travel or come to campus one day for our local conference and those kind of things. So you'll get to get involved those ways if you're more on the research path. Career paths, there's a lot of things. I mean, you could become a researcher or a neuroscientist at like a company. So like kind of on the private side, you could do that for a university or a nonprofit or something like that, more on like a public side. So yeah, kind of company route. There's jobs like being a school psychologist. There's jobs like, it's kind of a catch-all, but like being a consultant. I've seen plenty of people who, take their knowledge from maybe schooling and work experience and apply it to helping other people kind of like as their own boss. There's a lot of other things too. Like there's a whole field of industrial organizational psychology where you can apply your psychology knowledge to working for a company in a human relations department. There's human factors researchers who I always think tech companies, right? So we're going to study like, how is this person interacting with this phone we made? How can we make this phone better so they're more satisfied, but it also performs well and things like that. So again, I could go on, and if I didn't hit an example that's not up your alley, I apologize. But really, we also have to get into, there's the whole clinical side, which I think a lot of people hear psychology, they think clinical psychology and therapy and such. So I kind of started opposite of that to show like there's a lot more to it for sure. But of course, clinical psychology is very important. So skills there could be like, I would call it like intra and interpersonal intelligence, like learning to understand yourself. And then that's going to help you kind of be open to understanding others. And also taking care of yourself. As a therapist, can be very stressful. So you have to have good self-care to be a successful therapist. Like, you're not taking good care of yourself, you're going to have a hard time helping other people. You're going to run yourself into the ground. Understanding therapeutic techniques. One I think a lot of people have heard of, might be familiar with, is applied behavioral analysis, or ABA therapy. We have a whole class on like ABA therapy. Also community engagement. One of my colleagues is a community psychologist, and she's very involved with programs to like help veterans with PTSD and stuff like that. So other outcomes related to this, there's really a lot of opportunities. There might be research opportunities in clinical psych on campus or through people on campus, but there also are like paid and volunteer opportunities with things such as like volunteer crisis lines. I've seen those kind of like where you talk to people on the phone, and I've also seen ones where it's all texting. So I've had a lot of students I've seen do those kind of things. You could get a job as a registered behavioral technician, which one example is like helping people with autism or on the autism spectrum develop skills. And I mentioned the other one, like you could maybe work in a group. Like we have groups on campus that help groups like soldiers with PTSD, or it could be like other groups facing some kind of mental health issue. So career paths, a lot of people will want to basically get some kind of certification to start practicing. So there's marriage family therapy, or MFT. There's licensed professional clinical counselor, LPCC. So you can go into private practice or like work for a company. If you want to go the route of like, if you start out as a registered behavioral technician, after you get an undergrad degree, you can move up to board certified assistant behavioral analysis or analysis, and basically kind of be between RBT and what's called a board certified behavioral analysis, which needs a graduate degree. So either you could be that assistant if you're happy doing that, or it gives you that path to keep going and become a BCBA. Or you could do this kind of work we're talking about. Maybe it's working for a nonprofit to serve a population that's affected in some kind of way with mental health issue or something like that. Again, I think it could be like a nonprofit that serves like homeless or something like that. So that's a lot, but a lot of pathways, a lot of options, and there's a lot more. That's the thing.
Yeah, for sure. I think your response really just highlighted just the breadth and the depth of the types of experiences and skills and learning outcomes that students will have through the program, and where that could lead them. But it sounds like there's just so many avenues or windows that are open by going through the program, because they're learning those things that are translatable to so many different aspects of life, like you talked about, being able to conduct research, analyze data to inform decision making, effective communication, presentation skills, all those things. And so whether they're looking at for-profit, nonprofit, working with certain populations or communities, whatever they're passionate about or whatever cause they want to support, or like you said, getting into the clinical side of things, there's just so many different opportunities there. It's really cool. And you touched upon this a little bit too, with some of the kind of experiential learning that they might have access to as part of the program as well. Like you mentioned, the site conference that your department hosts. Are there any other examples of like experiential learning opportunities that students will be able to access while they're enrolled in the program?
Most definitely, yeah. I guess just there's a lot of experiential learning within the classes themselves. So we mentioned like writing in APA style. There's a specific course about writing in psychology, but then you're going to basically practice that skill throughout the rest of your courses. You're going to conduct small scale research studies when you take advanced research methods. But again, a lot of I think most senior capstones, which everybody also has to take, you're going to be doing some kind of experiment. But I know a lot of other classes will work that in as well. So, because you hear a lot of times you kind of hear people applying to grad school, I don't have any research experience. And I was like, I didn't get to work in a lab. And I was like, well, you took advanced research methods, right? I think everybody does a little study, right? And they're like, oh yeah, you're right. I was like, that counts for sure. We mentioned the lab, like trying to go work in a lab. And one thing I always like to point out is, because I've seen plenty of students, we have quite a few faculty who have labs, and they're usually openings for people. But even if maybe the lab is your top choice doesn't have an opening, right? There's labs in other departments on campus. I've seen students go work at labs at other universities. So, they're really, and the faculty here are kind of happy to help connect you with that. Like a lot of times I'm like, hey, there's someone in like my field's educational psychology. I'm like, hey, there's someone in the education department who's also doing research. You might want to talk to them. And some of us like have colleagues in other schools who might have a bigger lab and might maybe have some more funding or something like that. So, yeah, kind of the experience you get in class, the experience you could get through trying to work in a lab. Even if you don't work in a lab, if you have a study idea, I would encourage you to share it with a teacher. That happens with me quite often. Like somebody's like, I kind of want to do this. And I was like, if I have time, I could maybe help you with that, right? So you could even kind of do your own research, maybe not even being within a lab, if you got an idea and someone's willing to work with you on it. And we have specific kind of classes to do that too, called like independent studies, where you can earn credits for working on your own project. So anyway, what else? I know there's more. We also have engagement courses, which recently have become a requirement of the major. So I mentioned one earlier, there's that careers in psychology course. But we're looking to add other courses where there'd be a service component to the course. So basically everyone's going to have to take some kind of course with some kind of service component. Again, hard to speak exactly what that looks like because we're still figuring out which courses are going to be that. But so yeah, I think the 3 ways are kind of working on research, working on writing, finding opportunities for service learning. I also really encourage people to go to the drop-in hours for your professors, or if you can't make the drop-in hours, email them to make an appointment. I feel fortunate. I have students come to me. They're like, hey, I'm interested in EdPsych, or they're taking like a class with me. And they're like, I wanted to talk about that. You mentioned that kind of career. And, we're all happy to talk about those things because they're like our jam, right? It's like what we studied and the thing we enjoy and we're motivated by. So I know it can be hard sometimes, but I think once you kind of get that foot in that door, you'll be very happy with the outcomes, and we're all pretty happy to kind of help you find those opportunities that are going to help you get going on your path, right? So let's see. And I would stress again that I think a lot of these are available. Like you can do certain things from home or online if it's not possible to make it to campus. The other thing we have going on is like we invite speakers to come talk. So it might be researchers or clinical psychologists from other schools or maybe other colleges on campus. And pretty much all of those, we have like in-person but there's usually also available on Zoom. So there's lots of things you could attend in person or on Zoom in terms of that. Also, some things that are popping into mind is a lot of our information sessions are both in person and on Zoom. Like I know our clinical psychology master's program has like a whole information session about how to apply and things like that. We've got a couple other clubs. We've got Psyched Club, which is not, it's kind of anybody can join. It's not just for psych majors, but it's kind of like anybody taking an interest in psychology that has meetings. We have Psych High, which is like a psych honor society, and we have a chapter here. So there's definitely ways to get involved and seek these opportunities out. But to kind of piggyback on what you said after my last answer, I wanted to also say, like, I think the thing you're passionate about and motivated about is really important to keep in mind. But just know that, like I said, your professors are in that same boat. So, you know, if you're jazzed about something and you talk about that to them about it, and it's also the thing they're jazzed about, like that's a good place to be. It's gonna, you know, present opportunities that can, you know, help you find your path. And if you're like, I don't know what I'm jazzed about yet, that's also okay and totally fine. That's very, very normal place to be. So kind of seeking help with that too can be helpful. I know I have those conversations a lot too. But those are fun because it's like, hey, like, how can we get you going on the thing that is going to make you happy, but also have you helping other people be happier?
Yeah, for sure. It was so cool just to hear that there's just an abundance of opportunities. It sounds like both within the program itself, like you said, there's been a lot of intention around embedding experiential learning into particular courses and kind of weaving things throughout the entire program as a whole. But then, like you said, there's all these other access points, whether you're looking at student organizations or research opportunities. And because of the versatility of psychology, it can really span across a lot of different disciplines. And then really, I liked how you highlighted it, encouraging students to get to know their faculty and build a rapport with them, because that might open up other opportunities. Just in the last 20 minutes, we've learned so much from you. And imagine if a student was having this conversation with you, how much they would take away as well. So I think that's one thing we think about for SJSU Online as a whole too. We really want to make sure that students know that they are enrolled as an SJSU student and they have access to all these resources throughout the university, both within their program, which, you know, in their department, but then also like the SJSU Career Center and the Writing Center, counseling services, all these different things, library services, everything. Want to make sure they take advantage of every resource available to them and make the most out of the opportunity as a whole.
Yes, well said. There's so many resources, and that is definitely our goal. You know, SJSU Online Psychology is to serve our students as well as possible. That's
sure.
really, yeah, that's our guiding philosophy for sure.
Yep. I think we're all here in the same boat to make sure
yeah
people can enroll in the program that's the best fit for them, you know, make progress towards their goals that they have of completing their degree and in advancing their career or changing careers or whatever direction they want to go in, exploring graduate studies opportunities, and then going from there. So, well, Patrick, I want to just thank you for your time and all of your insights and highlighting the value of our new SJSU Online Psychology program. I want to thank our viewers for watching. Feel free to visit our SJSU Online website if you'd like to learn more and get in contact with our enrollment counseling team, and we will catch you in the next episode.